Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
Hello, Internet, and welcome back, or welcome to Indie Please No Details, episode 17. My name's Keegan, one half Level 2 Gamers, hanging out with Tom, the other half Level 2 Gamers. How you doing today, Tom?
I'm grand. I feel like we should half explain something real quick before we start.
Okay.
So I'll do it.
Because I'm hungover as fuck right now.
Okay. So first of all, thank you for shooting back in after our little away time that we had. We had 2 weeks away time. We planned on 1 week away time.
Well, it wasn't really away.
It wasn't really away. It was a different thing. We were doing a 24-hour stream for charity.
Yeah. Do you know what the final numbers were on that? I got some final numbers for you. So, after matches and everything, we were at $2,832.
Wow.
Then I got an email saying, hey, some anonymous person is going to match that whole donation.
Wow.
So we were at, $5,664 when all said and done?
Yeah.
That's a lot of controllers.
Yeah.
So...
$5,600 for Able Gamers.
That's bananas. I am fucking exhausted. I fell asleep, I think, twice during that.
You did. 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I definitely was just passed out.
It was funny because people in the chat were saying, is that Keegan snoring over there? And I was like, yes.
Yeah,
yes, it is.
he passed the fuck out.
He's making
You were sick last time people saw you?
I was. I got a whole thing on this on Friday, so don't worry about that. We're going to have to get into that. But as for like the quick explanation, last week you were sick.
I was sick.
The week before I was sick, but we were also doing a stream, and you were right to blame me. So when we did the 24-hour live stream, we did an episode of Indie Please Add Details, of Codename Morpheus, and of the Level 2 podcast live. We did it back to back to back. We thought it'd be fun to just kind of like just do it back to back to back. Didn't work out quite that way. It was fine. But I was sick, so we were kind of like, I'm suffering through every fucking podcast, like I gotta go throw up. And it didn't record. When
it was live streaming though, because people were in chat talking to us in between.
Yeah, it was weird.
So what happened? So I think what happened was when we switched over everything. I wonder if this is behind the scenes stuff. Elgato uses flashback recording and stuff like that. I don't know if that was turned on. That might affect it. And two, maybe we just didn't let it process before we started recording again.
That is entirely possible. Yeah, because
I don't know.
YouTube just is, you record for 24 hours, you got to cut in and out a little bit, especially with VR, because we went from like the podcast, then into gaming, then into VR.
Our longest one was the 13-hour segment. We had some that were like 22 minutes. We had some that were like 2 hours.
Yeah, so it was super weird the way that YouTube decided to try and get that stuff. Either way, everything got lost to the ether, and we didn't even have...
everything else was there.
We didn't record it on a separate audio or anything. So we were going to put those up for the audio guys and in the video clips and just have it be kind of weird looking as opposed to having the nice studio we have now. But we didn't. So instead, we're just going to pretend those episodes never happened.
Yeah.
And that makes this episode 17. Yay.
Cool.
Continue.
So I also need to preface again. I'm going to talk about it on Friday.
Preface that you're hungover.
But I am hungover as fuck right now. So I apologize, guys, if I'm just like out of it. I had... very late last night.
Are you cold too? You got your coat on again.
No, I just didn't take it off. You
got that like that tramp sheet.
I feel like shit right now. But we're gonna power through this. We're gonna do it. So details. Moving on to details. Actually, I can do my spiel. I didn't do my spiel yet.
Oh yeah, sure.
This is Indie Please Add Details, our weekly dip in the world of indie games and indie developers, where we discuss the news and our indie excursions throughout the week. Topping it all off with a discussion that you can join down below in the comments. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast services, Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud. I think I hit them all. Or you can see our lovely faces at level2gamers.com. To continue the discussion on air but offline, hit us up on Twitter at level2gamersstl or Discord, link in the description. I'm fucking surprised you got through that.
You did. It's also off-air online.
Whatever.
You said on-air, offline.
Whatever.
Which is just like, to continue the discussion live.
Come to my house.
For the rest of my
Tom's
life.
address is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right. Anyway,
his address does start with the 1.
This is your indie show. So this is we've come to the realization lately that we're the champions of the underdogs. That's it, right? So, like, because that's true. Champions. But we get a lot of success with our VR stuff more than anything else. But I think that the indie stuff is important to us, and both of us like really, really want to support indie developers. Not least because a lot of VR developers are indie developers, but because like those guys that are out
indie
there,
games do new things.
Yeah, indie games are the most interesting, the most creative.
They don't put loot boxes in. They don't have loot boxes in. Passes, maybe microtransactions.
And
all these things wrong with AAA games today?
Yeah, so it's it's up to us to support the indie guys because we're indie media. So just that's kind of like, I know a lot of people prefer the VR show, but if you're listening, thank you for giving it a chance on the indie front of things because there's some cool stuff coming this week.
Speaking of which,
so let's go.
Detail number 1. This is from the Game Awards. Again, since you've seen you, it's been Game Awards and PSX has happened.
Oh yeah.
So in the Valley of the Gods from Campo Santo, the creators of Firewatch have announced a new game. I don't think they gave a release date. I think I would say if they did, it would be 2018. But
yeah, 2018
would make sense,
was what they said. But yeah, in the Valley of the Gods by Campo Santo. Looks super cool.
It reminds me immediately of Firewatch with the animation because
the art style for sure. Yeah,
I call it the bouncy animation when you're climbing. The one thing I hope they do better than Firewatch is they stick the landing because Firewatch was an amazing game. To me, the ending just kind of fell flat.
Yeah, I'm with you. Firewatch was like an incredible experience. The way that the story unraveled, specifically, like the fact that it was all done through kind of radio conversation, and you get to choose how to react to everything.
Was her name Darla, Delilah, or something?
I don't remember, but it was so enjoyable. It was like, when she go into this area, then you get a weird something in the distance, and then like it all tied in so well. The ending was kind of a little bit of a letdown, but. This one looks really cool.
This looks really cool. So basically what this looks like is you're kind of splunking. You are exploring.
You're a splunker.
You are in, I don't know where the gods is. My immediate thought was Egypt. But there is there is a desert, but I don't know for sure whether it's Egypt.
It looks like I would put money on Egypt.
I'd bet on Egypt. So basically it looks like you're going with a companion of yours to go explore different tombs, and I'm sure there's some sort of mystery unraveling. I'm guessing it's going to be like Firewatch, where it's just a lot of story-based, not very... There's some interactivity,
I assume there's going to be some supernatural elements to it as well, probably.
Especially with the gods.
Yeah, but can we get a shout-out for a strong black female protagonist? Because that's awesome. Like, as soon as I saw that and that was the focus, I was like, you know what? I can't remember the last time I saw like a female black protagonist in a video game.
You don't play her. You're still playing the.
Well, it's like one of the main, super main characters. Like
I just want to clarify that you are not playing as her. You see her though. She's your companion.
She's your best buddy, right?
She's like the Delilah or whatever.
So it's like legitimately kind of cool that they went that route, especially after they were so vocal about PewDiePie's outbursts as well. It's kind of like maybe that's why it stung extra.
I mean, you gotta stand behind what you say. What is it? What's the phrase where you?
Stand behind what you say.
There's a phrase of like, use your words or something. I don't know.
I'm over Keegan is worse Keegan.
But yeah, I'm excited about this. It looks really interesting. I loved, like I said, Firewatch. Other than the ending, the experience was fun. I live streamed the whole thing. Absolutely enjoyed it. It had some cool mechanics. I hope though they don't just rehash some of those mechanics. That they come with new things.
I'm sure they will.
And just don't take what they had in Firewatch and make it in Egypt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited. Now the scary part is they now have an expectation.
Yeah,
that's where the issue comes.
Because Firewatch was like everyone went into that blind. Really.
Yeah, nobody really knew. I mean, Campo Santo was former devs from somewhere.
Yeah, it was just trailer stuff you had to go off of. So yeah, and the trailer does look great though.
Oh yeah,
it really does look fantastic. It looks like they've kept that narrative element to it. It looks like the storytelling is going to be top notch. They didn't give away a whole lot in terms of like what you'll be doing,
which is good because that's if it's story based, you don't want to give away
for sure. Yeah, so it's
just like here, it's Egypt. You're going to explore. You're gonna ride a camel. You're gonna go tomb hunting, and you're gonna climb, and you have. Well, it's cool. There's a part where you open a bag, and you have a bunch of tools inside of it, and then you have a camera. I wonder if the camera is going to play any sort of significance because the very last scene, you see them setting up the tripod, and then in the distance, there's what looks like a god-looking black figure that they're taking a picture of.
Yeah, well, it almost looks like they were photographers that wanted to get the perfect shot of the sun rising up over something.
Yeah.
But then that kind of seems to be the main. I'm assuming that the majority of that trailer was intro. I think like that's the start of the game, and then it's going to go like haywire from there. So, but really exciting. Really exciting.
Really exciting. Other not so exciting news, Tom. Our buddies at Cosmo Quickstop have canceled their Kickstarter.
Oh no.
So I'm going to read the full release from them because bear with me, it's a little lengthy, but it's quite endearing. So it's titled "Not the End."
Okay, that's good.
Well, folks, we ran the charts. We cross-examined the data. We called in specialists with chalkboards full of equations. We stared at the tea leaves for hours. All data points to one conclusion: we aren't going to make the minimum funding goal of the Kickstarter. I'm going to start off by saying that as much as this is a big disappointment to us, this isn't the end. Kickstarter was never a less chance fundraiser. Its failure is not our death nail. We are fully committed to making Cosmo's Quickstop and making it as good as possible. If that means some more 25-cent ramen noodle for a while, so be it. During this campaign, we learned how important and hard marketing truly is. We have found people who play and love it, but it's hard to break that initial barrier of entry. It is difficult to explain our game being an evolution of a genre that has been very static for a long time. But this problem is solvable, and it becomes easier the more we attempt it. So we will continue to keep trying and testing things until we break through the issue of discoverability.
Interesting.
Another thing we learned about marketing is that it's like a fire. You must build it yourself, and although it can start burning brightly, if you don't tend to it, it will die. The Kickstarter is the true start of our fire. We doubled our audience on Twitter. We have streamers play our game with hundreds of people watching them. We have videos of the game that have thousands of views. We had a post on Imager with over 100,000 people saw. We entered and won a local event that got us a free booth at C2E2, which has an attendance of over 80,000 people. That's the big convention up in Chicago.
Yeah.
If we ignore the fact that Kickstarter didn't succeed, this has been an amazing month for Cosmo's Quickstop, and that is very inspirational to us. We know if we continue a similar level of marketing, there's no reason for this fire to do anything but grow. Another thing we learned from Kickstarter is just how amazing you all are. Seeing that everyone is talking about and playing the game has had an amazing experience, we want to thank all of you for all you've contributed, from the Kickstarter donation to a retweet to playing the game publicly to writing about us to saying kind words to us in a difficult time. All these things help drive us forward even in the face of adversity. We owe a lot of what we have and accomplish to you folks, so we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Some say failure can be the first step towards success. This is how we are choosing to look at this. It is just one of many steps that will eventually lead us to releasing a game that we are completely satisfied and proud of. If you still want to come along on this journey, we will be happy to have you. Make sure you sign up for a newsletter, follow us on Twitter, and wishlist our game on Steam. And then if you head over to the Kickstarter, they still have their mailing list, Twitter, and Steam link on there. From all of us at Big Sur Games, thank you, Ian Beckman. So, kind of sucks.
That was a really well penned.
I kind of had a feeling based on the numbers. Like, you can see at some point they raised 9,712 of their 40,000 goal. Like, at some point, you know the writing's on the wall.
You know, it's interesting because they know they openly came out and said that marketing was their biggest struggle. Mm-hmm. And for me, like, comprehension of how much money you actually need to make a demo product or a real product is kind of out of my wheelhouse. I don't know about you, but I have no idea what the 40,000 would be used for. Like, if it's cheaper than that to make a game, if it's all just for marketing, like, I don't know. But it just kind of helps solidify the fact that what we do on this show is so important for these indie developers, because they went out and said it, you know, and they had decent marketing. Like, they were one of the better. Of the indie devs we've seen, they were one of the better ones when it came out to reaching to other people, because I know a lot of people that had this and talked about it. But the other thing for us that you got to keep in mind is we have just over 1,100 people. Yeah. That's a small chunk, and of those 1,100 people, how many of them, have a PC? How many of them care about this game? That kind of thing. So you narrow your audience down. But their marketing, I would tell Big Sur that their marketing campaign, when it came to, compared to a lot of other indie devs I've seen, is very, very good. They were able to reach a lot of streamers. The trailer was interesting. Yeah, they got a lot of.
There was a few things here and there I probably would tweak like anything else. But
you guys didn't suck at marketing. I think you just. I don't know. There's a weird wave to hit, specifically with marketing, where you get this kind of buzz that continues, and sometimes you don't hit it.
Well, that's I think his thing of writing word, keeping it going, tending to the fire. Because the first week, the first week is when everything, like, that's we did one and it's up, and then we did the update next week, and then we didn't really talk about it because at that point you're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with the Kickstarter. So maybe it could fall on us to maybe talk about it more as influencers, as the media, and just see that, because it does suck. This game is a lot of fun. I played it at Indie PopCon. I had a blast with it, as I said a few episodes ago, and I want this game made, and they said it will be made, and I hope it gets made, because it is a lot of fun, and I want to see it happen.
Now, for those of you that maybe haven't caught us talking about this before, Cosmo's Quickstop is essentially a sort of a Futurama art style a time management game, where you are a janitor on a space station, and different aliens come in and need different things like fuel, or their glorp to be wiped off or whatever, and you're sort of just running from like thing to thing and balancing your time management. But it's really pretty. It the art style is fantastic, and I would say, if nothing else, at least go and watch the trailer. We have the trailer on our channel. We have an interview with Ian Beckman on the channel, and
it's a team of 3.
Yeah, 3 dudes, man, and like, well, 2 of them are married, right?
Two dudes and a chick.
Well, she's still a dude. So I mean, like they said, it's not the end. At very least, go check it out. Like, if you think it looks awful or not your type of game, that's totally fine. But you know, the link will be below to the letter that Ian penned. But go follow those links in that letter to their Twitter, to their website, and things like that, and check it out, because I think both of us like have a small emotional attachment to this after seeing it.
And I think the other thing too is, like, we get emails from indie developers all the time about games, and there are times where games stand out, and there's times where games are like, this looks like a generic indie game.
Shout out to kind of Lucanor.
This is one of the few times that a game that I mean, there's a handful I could talk about. Like, to me, Stacks on Stacks on Stacks is always going to be one that stands out in my mind.
This is one you went back to.
It's one that's like, okay, this is a game I'm not covering because I'm the media. This is a game Keegan loves and wants to play again, which is always a good sign, at least for me, about a game.
I know if you like a game because you'll go back and play it again and again and again at a con specifically, because we get our footage and that's our stuff for the channel. But then afafter, if you go back to it, I know that you actually really love that
like
game.
Stacks and Stacks, good old
like Stacks.
I saw him 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there's a few games like what was the other? No Mercy was
No Mercy was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed that too. I really loved that.
We also make a choice, like when we look at cover games at cons, we have to sit down because we have a limited amount of time of like, what's worth our time? Is this worth putting time and effort into? And we try to, for you guys, see the best one, so you don't have to. There's so much indie in the world of indie to cover that we're like, okay, what are like 5 things that you need to find and see?
I mean, that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's because I think it's the reason why indie games honestly probably get a lot of shit is because there's so fucking many of them, and there's such varying degrees of quality that for a lot of folks, like, they hear the word indie and they have a sour taste in their mouth because maybe they bought something.
You even said before, kind of running the channel, you're like, I didn't really indie game because I didn't think about it. Versus me, I've always been.
I was one of those dudes that got mad when the PlayStation Plus free games were indie games.
See, I get mad now because I already own all the games. I was like, fuck.
But like, I got mad at that because, like, you know, I wanted AAA titles and stuff, and I never gave indies the time of day. And it really wasn't until I started for the channel playing a lot of these games that I started to really, really dig it. And then, of course, going to the cons, talking to the developers, seeing how much time and effort they put in, it's incredible. And yeah, so that's why we're such champions for it now. So go check out Cosmo's Quickstop.
Yes,
because we said so.
In other crazy news, detail number 3. Have you heard this, Tom?
No.
Cuphead IP hijacked by identity thieves, fake game removed from the iOS store.
I did see this, yeah. There was a fake iOS version of it or something.
So this is from DualShockers. Bad ripoffs of established IPs are not strangers to the iOS App Store. In fact, it is regularly cited as a regular problem. That's a weird sentence. With Apple frequently calling bad Mario games and other ripoffs. Remember Flappy Bird?
Flappy Bird.
How many ripoffs there were? But rarely are developers so brazen as to declare that they are the IP holder. Yet, this is the issue that indie developer studio MDHR finds themselves today. Earlier this morning, someone stole their identity, tried selling a fake Cuphead port on iOS. The original news came by way of watchful gamers at Reset Era, who noticed the listing. Understandably, the reactions were absolutely surprised. The listing looked official, with a well-articulated description, copyright markings, and most importantly, developer studio MDHR listed as a developer. On top, the game was being sold for $4.99, well under the Xbox One PC price tag, and available for both iPhone and iPad. There's a screenshot of this. Hold on. And while some just accepted the fact that this was a surprise announcement, others were skeptical, emailing Cuphead developer MDHR directly, and yes, they were caught off guard. Scam! That's what they responded to the person on Twitter. Scam!
I declare
Since then, Studio MDHR has made a few more announcements announcing the game, including the official Twitter post. There's a Cuphead Imposter app on the iOS store. This is a scam. We are working to remove the fraudulent app ASAP. As for an official statement was given to Polygon. We constantly find Cuphead ripped off in iOS storefronts, but this is the first time we had somebody try to directly sign up under our actual company name and sell a fraudulent version of our game. It's unfortunate because it's time-consuming for us to keep contacting the storefronts to get them to remove these frauds. We don't want fans to think it's our stuff because it isn't, and it could possibly be malicious. Thankfully, Apple has responded by removing the fake game. It is unclear how many units have been sold, if people will be getting refunds, or if the fake Cuphead had any viruses associated with it. And crazy enough, the faux iOS Cuphead wasn't entirely unbelievable even to purchasers. Besides the glitched intro, see above, there's a video. The game itself seemed fairly consistent with the actual game on PC and Xbox One. For an idea on how the game looked, you can check out the gameplay video quickly captured by YouTuber Snape for the video game removed.
So, like, it was actually a legitimate port?
Well, illegitimate port.
Well, illegitimate port, but, like, was it Cuphead in iOS?
Yeah, it was Cuphead in iOS.
And it actually played like Cuphead?
Yes, well, as good as it could.
Yeah.
On iOS. So,
that's that's kind of awesome.
It's kind of ballsy is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, fuck those guys for doing it, but at the same time, like...
How cool that is.
It's kind of funny that they managed to make that game. I mean, now we know it can be done, so those guys better working on iOS port pretty soon.
I mean, I think they'll do one down the road when they need to get more money.
Totally
injection of cash.
Yeah, it's perfect for iOS, actually.
But mobile games are known to copycats. It's the race to the bottom. It's how you get the most money. Like I said, how many Flappy Bird ones? Oceanhorn is technically like a Zelda clone.
Yeah,
it's a good.
That's more of an homage.
Yes,
than a
but how many of those exist? You have a bunch of Mario ripoffs. You have a bunch of because it's easy to make on a mobile port and people buy it because it looks like they played. This is a legit just ripoff.
Like we said before, like the problem with indie games is that there are so many that are just kind of like lazily put together, and this is a special level of hell for these guys for just ripping the whole thing and actually trying to make money off it and using the studio's name. That's insane. I'm amazed that got past Apple to begin with, to be honest with you. But I mean.
Apple probably doesn't know.
Yeah, I mean, but I thought like every app got sort of vetted to some extent.
You know how many app services submitted?
Yeah, but otherwise people would just be putting like porn apps up there.
There's probably a robot though that goes through and like checks certain things. I mean, it probably goes through automated
trademarks would be one of the things that it checks.
You would think, but it goes. I have a feeling it goes through an automated system. If it gets flagged in an automated system, then they probably take it to human, and the human then goes through and says okay. Or if somebody reports it, they get a human involved. Yeah. So good on Apple for moving it, bad on Apple for approving it.
Yeah.
Don't buy Cuphead. You can't now because it's gone.
I kind of wish I got it, you know.
But it wasn't like it didn't.
Would they remove it from your phone?
I don't know.
I mean, just to have it. I mean,
it's like it'd be like PT, where if you had it downloaded, it's still yours. But once you upgraded your phone or whatever, it'd probably go away.
Yeah, I only read about it when it already been pointed out as a scam. So
yeah, I saw it and I almost bought it, and I was like, no,
should have.
So moving on.
Cool.
Speaking of Xbox One games, PUBG shifted over 1 million copies on Xbox One within 48 hours.
Not surprised.
Not surprised at all. I have not bought it yet. I will explain why here in a second on the next detail. But PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is already popular with Xbox One users, and it's only been available for a week. This is from a couple days ago. Microsoft stated PUBG was downloaded over 1 million times on Xbox One through the game preview program and within 48 hours. PUBG will continue to receive enhancements, new content updates such as the Myanmar Desert and optimizations, but until then, you can look over what's currently included in the PUBG and Xbox One on this handy guide. Microsoft is currently handing the $30 game out with every purchase of an Xbox One, $499 in select regions for a limited amount of time. Promotion starts December 17th. If I was going to buy one,
that'd be the one that I bought.
But it's a $30 game versus you can get like Halo or something with
that. And Cuphead are the only things that make me want an Xbox, and that's probably going to end up on PlayStation at some point. Let's be honest. It's probably going to end up there. I think they have a time exclusive. It might be a while, but it'll end up there. And when it does, it'll be
so the reason I don't think it's going to end up there, Tom, is next detail. Okay. PUBG's first patch on Xbox One takes aim at performance issues. Did you hear about the performance issues PUBG had?
I did, and there was performance issues on the PC version, so I wasn't surprised either.
But not to the extent this was, because the PC one, it's based on you have so many different variations of hardware that I kind of expected it to happen. Microsoft, you have 3 iterations of hardware. You have the launch Xbox One, you have the Xbox One S, and you have the Xbox One X. And people on the launch Xbox One, which is what I have, which is why I haven't bought it yet, we're getting 10 to 15 frames in a lot of places. So we're talking significant. Xbox One X was getting 20 to 30. And this is from a developer at one point that said, hey, everything's going to run at 60.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. That being said, early access.
What does that say about the Xbox One X as well? Because that's touted as being the most powerful.
Doesn't matter. If a game's not optimized, it still runs like shit.
That's true.
I mean, you can have the most powerful system, but if your game doesn't use that power properly,
developers didn't put the work in.
Yeah, it's gonna run like shit. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds has received its first patch on Xbox One version, available in game preview. The patch went live at 4 a.m. Eastern yesterday. The notes of the patch, number 1 says, First, past visual and performance improvements with slightly improved anti-aliasing on launch Xbox Ones and Xbox One S. Frame rate and graphical polish were among the shortcomings players found when PUBG launched an Xbox One game preview a week ago. The sluggishness was especially disappointing given its presence, even when the screen didn't show a lot of action or movement. That's where I have the issue.
It's a pretty vast game, though, isn't it? Like, the game world itself is pretty big.
But I'm cool. Like, there's still pop-in. I'm cool with that. Just fucking run with the pop-in. Right. Don't give me pop-in and not run.
Right.
The patch resolved some other bugs and animation glitches that player may have noticed. Of note, the controls when riding a motorcycle are no longer inverted. The keyboard functionality has been disabled. A squad leader leaving a party could also disable the party chat. That's been fixed. Many of the fixes and improvements have been called out in the patch notes. PUBG's community coordinator says this is the first of many Xbox-focused patch notes to come. Hopefully patches, not patch notes.
Did they say they removed the keyboard? So you could
on the Xbox.
So you could play it with the keyboard.
Yeah, Xbox supports keyboard and mouse.
Really?
Yeah, that's been a point of contention. So
because they think those players have a heads up, like they're being better, I guess.
Yeah.
But don't they want it to be cross-platform eventually anyway? Isn't Microsoft all about that?
Nope.
No. Interesting.
I mean, they're about it for certain games, but shooters, they've never allowed shooters to be cross-platform because you have such an advantage on keyboard and mouse because it's more accurate.
True.
Because you have aim assist on a PC. With the update live, we've hopped in the game on Xbox One and found marginal improvements. Texture pop is still an issue in the first few minutes of the game, and beyond 300 meters, the game looks muddy and undetailed. There's a bunch of lag, further complicating long-range sniping. Beyond that, the biggest issues we have with the game in its current state is the free look is still painfully slow when you're parachuting. The map functionality is awkward, but those don't feel like terribly technical issues, and hopefully we'll see them addressed soon. This from Polygon. Gotcha. So, I was going to buy the game. It came out last week, and I was going to pick it up, but I saw that, and I was like, let me wait, because we have a launch. We technically have a launch, Xbox One, thanks to our buddy Tigrado. And
shoutouts to Tigrado.
I was going to wait, so after this patch, I'm going to wait to see kind of what happens, because I want to play the game. Like everybody else, I want to play the game. But I
never played it, so I'm really.
But I don't want to play a game that's shit and make me not want to go into it because there's so much hype behind it that I want to make sure I'm playing.
Does this remind you of another game that got a port and it turned out to be really shitty and the game died on its ass?
I know what you're talking about.
Ark.
Yeah, Ark's still going on PC pretty well though.
True, but they've gotten to the point where how long has that fucking game been out? They've optimized it. But like when that got ported to consoles, it was a hot mess and it never recovered.
Yeah,
never recovered from it. So I mean, I think PUBG's gameplay hook is probably
and they have let's be honest.
Interesting.
The difference is PUBG also has Microsoft behind them.
True.
So Microsoft will make it work.
Yeah.
I think the biggest complaints outside of like technical issues that I've heard is the controller's functionality is a bit weird. Our buddy Seth Tubin Monkey was playing it on Twitch, and he was like, "This because he's so used to keyboard and mouse. That game menu inventory-wise is made for keyboard and mouse. So, give you an idea when you go up to you've watched games of PUBG, right?
Some, yeah.
When you go up to pick up something, it gives you the two sidebars, and you just mouse back and forth. So you can do that in probably half a second if you're on a mouse and keyboard. On a controller, they're saying it's about 30 seconds. So if you're standing there 30 seconds in a menu, it's a live thing. So if somebody walks in that building, they can shoot you while you're in your menu.
Yeah.
So they got to find some way to either optimize it or whatever it may be for that. Things like that need.
Well, that's almost part of the game, though, isn't it? I mean, because like if you think about it, the idea of this game is what? It's a battle royale.
Yeah,
right?
but
you're on an island and everyone's trying to kill everyone.
But the fact that you're going to die in a menu because you didn't see somebody coming.
But there are moments that you're not paying attention in a real world battle royale because you're focusing on something else. So it's almost like you have to find a hiding place that enables you to use the menu.
I disagree with that because part of the base game on PC is you get your inventory, get it out, you go as quick as you can, and you're rewarded for being quick in the menu. This does not allow that because of the way it's set up. You can't become quick in the menu.
Fair.
You're limited to it.
That's fair.
Because I think it's stupid that 30 seconds in a game is a long time. If you're like talking 5 seconds, you have the chance to at least run away. 30 seconds, you won't see somebody coming in and you're just dead.
I don't know. I kind of like it as part of the mechanic, but I think that 30 seconds is a bit extended. I would think like 10 seconds, 15 seconds tops.
So I hope they fix that.
Because I do that in Call of Duty. I'm just like, I have to like try and find the most obscure place. But then I guess the other thing about PUBG is that those games are longer, and when you die,
you're dead.
You're dead. Yep. So it's like there's no respawn.
Yep.
So that would be frustrating. So on reflection.
Cool. Moving on to spotlights this week. This is where we picked 2 games. Talk about it. Say what do you think.
Talk about it.
I picked one that you've been wanting me to play for a while. Actually, I think it came out in 2016. It's called Fragments of Him. And Yeah, so the reason I'm hungover is yesterday I had some friends come over. We played some video games, played some VR way into the night, and drank a lot of beer.
You had a variety.
Well, we also played Playlink. Dude, I had about a half a bottle. I had a full solo cup full of American honey at one point, and
What's
then beer.
American honey?
It's whiskey.
You drink whiskey?
Yeah.
No wonder you're having
whiskey on the rocks, man. It's the only way you got to go.
Your beard smells like tramp beard right
Dude,
now, I'm guessing.
Yeah. It's the beard.
Okay.
But no, so while I was waiting for people to come over, I was like, I want to pick up a game that I can kind of get in, and I needed to talk about this. And there's not going to be footage behind us unless I'm quick enough to get it to you in time. But basically, I recorded it and it got corrupted.
I've been known to steal footage.
Fragments of Him basically is the story of his name is William, and you start off and you're him and you get in a car crash. It's really interesting though. The first sequence, you're going through patterns of his day, and I actually got a trophy, and this is how I knew there was kind of different things to it. Is when you get out of your bedroom, you have to interact. It's basically point and click at things, and it tells a story. There's no real. Okay. It's just literally, hey, that's lighting up. Let me click on it, and it's going to tell you the story, and then that's how you progress along.
Gotcha.
There's no puzzles.
So it's not really like Heavy Rain style. It's more like Day of the Tentacle or something.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's you go through the beginning. You're William, and at one point it says, hey, it talks about having habits and doing the same thing over and over and over again, and it's like, maybe I'll go to the kitchen before I go to the bathroom first. And I went to the bathroom first just because it was the first door I saw. And also my brain, when somebody says go to this place, I go to the other place first because sometimes the game.
You're the worst.
Well, no, in a video game though, that way you don't skip ahead. Because my brain was like, what if I teleport to another scene, then I can't come back to the house to see that room?
Yeah, but if it tells you to go a certain way, usually it's telling you because it wants you to see all the stuff.
Not always. Because if you follow main mission, you're not going to get all the side stories.
That's true.
Side quests. So I'm in the bathroom anyways, and a trophy popped saying it's called sticking to the plan or something like that, where it's like you did the same routine.
You ignore what he said?
Yeah, you did the same routine, and there's also a trophy that if you do the kitchen first.
Interesting.
So I thought that was cool. But the story of Fragments of Him, again, you're William. During the first day, you get in a car crash, and he has this monologue he's got going on the whole time in the beginning sequence of going through habits, kind of the things he's done in his life, the people he's loved, and all this. And then he talks about his ex-girlfriend, he talks about his grandma, and he talks about his husband. And then at one point you get to stop sign, you go through the stop sign and crash, you're dead. And then the next scene transports you to his ex-girlfriend. So you're in her perspective, talking about him, how she moved into university, and a story how they met. So she was moving into university, and it's an English game. So I had opened the boot of the car.
Hey.
So I opened the boot of the car to put the boxes upstairs, and at one point she's like, oh, that's where I met William. And she talks about kind of like, I've never been in love before. I saw him. I knew immediately like there's something there, all this kind of stuff. And you see him when you walk out your dorm room, or the apartment, or wherever the hell it is, you can see him down there, and you talk to him, and then you end up going to a bar with him, and that's how you hang out and meet together.
You see the love story.
Yeah, and then you get into back into her dorm room, and she talks about kind of what happened. So it's you click on something, and again, I don't want to give away too much because it's all story based. But you click on something, time will pass. She tells a little bit of story about that object. You click on something else, time will pass, and the big part of the story that kind of where the meat is. Don't want to talk anything beyond this. Is the reason she's an ex-girlfriend is she finds out that William has a thing for a guy named Harry. William and Harry.
Mm. It's
the princes.
Brothers.
1, 2, Prince, kneel before you. That's what I say now. Princes.
Like that song. Spin Doctors classic.
Yeah. But anyway, so you have Harry comes in the picture, and I want to say her name's Sally, but I don't think that's right. But I'm just going to call her Sally.
When Harry met Sally.
Yeah. I'm going to say Sally and William have been dating, and they talk about how they've been dating for 2 years, and they had like, you go in on their Christmas dinner with their family. First time she met them, she's like, I wish I wore something different, and I felt awkward, didn't know how to react. All that, like,
so very heavily narrative.
Yeah, but when you get back to the dorm room, the really cool part is she's like, yeah, I had to have a conversation because I knew I didn't want to hold William back from Harry because you could tell there's something there. In the moment of like selflessness of, I love this guy, but clearly he's a homosexual, or we don't know if he's bi or if he's gay. We don't know.
Right.
They haven't come out and actually said which one, but he was dating at one point. I'm going to say bi because he was dating both Sally and Harry at the same time, and she's like, we were cool with that, but at some point I knew he was happier with him than he was with me, and I'd take a step back and have this conversation with him to say, hey, you need to do this. And that's where the game kind of becomes more of a game, where you're sitting at a bar and it gives you 3 options of how to answer a question. So the topic comes up of, I think the first question you have no choice. It's like, hey, I think we shouldn't be together anymore. I think you should be with Harry. And then he'll respond, and then you have 3 options of how you want to respond. Whether one's typically aggressive, like in your face. One is understanding, and one is just kind of
nonchalant.
Yeah, I don't really know how to do because the two are very similar but slightly different enough that you could see what would happen just based on wording. And the option I chose was kind of the, hey, I understand what you're going through. I understand why you don't want to break up with me, but I can see from my perspective what's happening here, and I think for both of us, we should break up and make you happy. So you go through that, and that's kind of where I'm going to stop, because after that it gets into a whole lot of spoiler territory.
Okay.
Because you go into Harry, and you go to Harry's, and then you go into William's grandmother, which are very intriguing people, by the way. I was quite surprised in how those perspectives all fit out.
This is interesting for me because you're not typically a type of guy that plays a game of this pace. I feel like you. I do.
If it's a good story, if it's a good story, I will.
Right, because you really enjoyed Last Days of June.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of picked this out for you. I was like, okay, so there's 2 things about this game. One, it looks kind of like it's going to tell a story similar to Last Days of June.
The art was a bit left to be desired.
Yeah, that's
kind of wish that was a little bit better.
But the other was the fact that it's probably the first game that I can think of indie-wise that's had like a gay, I don't know if they were protagonists necessarily, but like the story is around sort of a
he's the focal point of the story.
An emotion and a situation, which does happen in real life, and it's something that I think few people will ever experience that kind of a scenario. But it's like it's the perfect example of indie showcasing something that is made for certain people, and it's like this is creative, this is smart, this is a real thing that happens, and for you, I guess it gives you an outside perspective on.
Kind of what
something like that.
I couldn't imagine. So when the whole Sally, I really don't think that's her name, but I'm going to keep going with it. The Sally situation was going on. I couldn't imagine. At one point, I thought, what if my girlfriend at the time, say I had come out as bi, and my girlfriend at the time said, "Hey, you should be with this person." Like I had been with this person for 2 years. How would I react to that? How would I feel to that? And it's just like this is a situation I don't think I'll ever encounter. I mean, it's like you said, it's a very small population that'll ever encounter. It's not. We have friends. Like I have a couple people where we work they have transgendered partners, and I've talked to them kind of how that works. We have people that are friends that are gay. Like Jake came on and kind of talked about that a little bit back in the day, and just like
I'd be interested to hear Jake's views on this. Actually,
I've never really it's one of those things you don't really think about,
right?
Because it just. I've always known I've always been straight. Jake's always said I've known I've always been gay. Like you can't really say.
I just like that they're doing it because it's a case of like we always talk about like diversity and accessibility and things like that, and when it comes to indie games in specific, they are allowed to get away. Like you don't see EA putting money behind Fragments of Him. You know what I'm saying? Because they know that for them that's probably going to be a commercial failure because they're like we said and
a hot button item,
hot button issue, and like the amount of people that will genuinely play that game and understand it on a deeper level than me or you would is a small compartment.
Because I guarantee
love that it exists.
I guarantee there's somebody that they've gone through that.
Yeah,
like whether it's
I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of the developers.
Whether if it's from Sally's perspective, like hey, I had to let somebody. Because the line that got me the most when she made that decision, because it's near the end, you're going through her inner monologue while you're in her dorm room, and the line that got me the most was, I knew I loved him, I knew he was the one, but I knew he loved Harry more, and I've never loved I've loved people since, but not the same way. And I would love to, we talk about background stories and all this kind of stuff, I'd kind of like to see what her life became.
Like a prequel or something? Or a sequel.
Yeah. To see where she ended up, what happened to her. But it was just really interesting. Again, to me, it was the selflessness of, I'm going to let this go because I know it's what's best for him. And we can talk about relationships all we want, but I feel like relationships come down to an understanding, come down to communication, and come down to being open and honest with people or to each other. And that was just such a clairvoyant moment of this is really cool. And the coolest part, I told you this before we were recording, was I was playing it, and then Beth, who is she's gay. She came over, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And she actually showed up at the weird shower scene with good old
like when you're watching a movie with
good old William in the shower. They don't blur the butts. He had no genitals though, but they don't blur the butts.
Interesting.
He had Ken genitals.
Really?
They're just rounded off.
That's weird.
But
maybe he was just tucking it.
Maybe. But she came in and she's like, "What are you playing?" Because it's super slow paced, and that's like, okay, I'm gonna stop playing when she showed up because I was like, I don't want to bore her. I don't know how she feels, but I told her the story and she was intrigued by it because, again, being gay herself, she was just like, "Oh, that's so cool." Because you, like you said, you don't see very many of them. Like the fact that Blizzard made Tracer gay is amazing, but the story is not about Tracer being gay. That's just a trait she has, or that's who she is.
And that's the other thing that we talked about with Jacob, where there's a level of it where you kind of wish that when they did do these characters that they just made it like
that's
ordinary part of who they are. But there is also a market for people that want to have the unique experiences of being gay or experiencing a part of your coming out or whatever it might be. Like that would actually speak to them, and it's not done in a comical style.
Yeah.
It's done in a like this is serious.
It's not
this is
GTA style or whatever.
Right. It's not. Yeah. Like gay. What's his name? Big Gay
Tony.
Big Gay Tony or whatever. But yeah, it's
Ballad of Gay Tony.
Ballad of Gay Tony. But this is you're right. This is like a serious take on the subject, and one that for people that maybe had to go through this, like I said, it's probably not a lot of people, but like for those people that did go through, the fact that this game exists is incredible, and it's kind of up there in the same range as things like that Dragon Cancer and like those types of game experiences that you can tell that the developer really has something to say. And even though they maybe don't have the polish of a AAA developer, they went out of their way to make a game that they knew wasn't going to reach a wide audience, just to tell that story.
The only major issue I have, there's two issues I have with the game when it comes to just as a whole. One is control-wise. Sometimes finding being, again, colorblind, things glow green. You can't see green on a white background sometimes. So I'd literally be wandering. They lock you off in the room, so it's not that big of an area, but I'd be wandering around an area and be like, what do I click on? Because some of them is like, okay, there, and there's one left. You're like, where the fuck is this? It could be a coaster on the table.
Right.
You can't see it. So that was an issue. And also you have to be super close to things to click on it. It does give you red when you're too far away, which is kind of cool. And then the other thing was the art style. The art style was good. I just felt like the features needed to be there to express the emotion that was going on. I think it was because I loved the way they looked, but they didn't have any facial expressions while they're telling these deep emotional stories. So it's like it kind of takes you out of it.
The facial animation portrays the narrative.
I wish even if it wasn't, it doesn't have to be super in depth. They just don't have anything.
Right.
It's just like you're there. I mean, they have stuff. I have a face, but it's just like it's.
I think that's fair feedback.
Because it would have put me into the story a little bit more because it's such an emotionally deep story and a thing to talk about that I was just like.
It's like when actors playing the part in a movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like when I'll talk about like Nathan Drake. When Nolan North plays Nathan Drake, he will actually go in and he mocaps stuff, but he
embodies. He
will do the character. Yeah. So things like that just adds a little bit more to that character, and you can tell there's something's added to that character.
Versus more like you could tell it was just a voiceover as opposed to actually trying to live that part.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Fragments of Him. I think it's a really cool little game. I need to finish it. I haven't finished it yet, but the last two sections that I'm through. What's his face? Harry. I made it through Harry, and I'm on Grandma now.
Gotcha.
That sounds weird. But I'm interested to kind of see how this all ties up. With what's the ending look like? Like how does it all tie together?
And you're kind of like wanting to dig back in.
Yeah, I don't know how long it is. I played it for about an hour and a half.
I don't think it's
hour and a half yesterday. So I'm thinking I'm probably almost done.
Right.
Like I got to be close to it. I'm just hoping it doesn't do one of those things where it's it was a good story and build up. But every good story has to have a decent ending. So you gotta make sure it sticks landing. So Fragments of Him, I recommend you look at if that's intriguing to you. If you like story-based game, it is very, very slow paced. It's a lot of point and click. It's a lot of dialogue heavy. I recommend playing with headphones. I played it first. I played it first with the headphones before Beth showed up. Then I took my headphones off when she showed up and played it on speakers. And it's just so much more immersive because you have the like in the bar scene, you have the bar noise going on, so you feel more like
atmosphere, etc.
So
yeah, cool.
Cool.
So I have two. but I'm going to keep them both short because, well, one of the games is short and the other one is bad. So I feel like I don't want to just sit here and rip into it for like 15 minutes. So I had Black Mirror, and it's not the TV show Black Mirror, which is the first letdown, but it's in fact a kind of a Lovecraftian tale, which, you know, I love me some Lovecraft, and I was kind of excited about giving it a shot. But it is this kind of tale of this guy whose father passes away in mysterious circumstances, and he ends up going to this kind of mansion in the middle of, you know, England somewhere. This
is my life.
Super spooky mansion, and to inherit the family fortune, and kind of everything that's known about this family is that, like, basically all of them were shits. Like, they were all just like assholes, and he's, you know, the only one left, so to speak. And so he inherits this mansion. So he goes to the mansion, and he's just kind of like supposed to unravel parts of the mystery around his dad's death, because it was just like his dad basically got killed on the moors. He was out in the moors, and then something took him out. And honestly, I really wanted to love it because it was like a $25 game, and I purchased it out of pocket. I didn't get the key, nothing like that. But the very first part of the game has you as his dad, like, running away, and it's just like the actual mechanics of running and kind of hiding and that kind of stuff were super bad. Like, and like right away the game put me off, which sucks because, like, it's such a cool story, and, like, you know, it has so much.
I feel like it's one of those moments where you had a really good story, but you didn't have a guy who do the game versus
exactly. Like the story, the writing, all of that was lovely. There was an awful lot of talking, but so I'm fine with that. You know, I played a game that's literally nothing but talking the week before, but But yeah, I mean, so as you're playing the game, it's a point and click kind of. You're actually able to manipulate the character and move him around, but essentially you're moving from like thing to thing and like examining it.
So that's very similar to Fragments of Him.
Right.
You're in a 3D space. You're going from item to item to continue the next.
But this is kind of just to give you like an idea of why it hacked me off so much. Was when you arrive at this mansion, it's late, right? And you're supposed to be like talking, like you go there to talk about your father's death and everything. And the lady of the house is kind of like a bitch, and she's like, why don't you guys sleep? We'll talk in the morning. So you go up into your room, and right before you go into your room, this dude says, hey, don't come out because there's bad shit around here, and don't do it. So you're like, all right, cool, I'm just going to sleep, right? Yeah. No. So you can't sleep because you have insomnia. So then you have to go find a candle, and then you have to walk around this mansion. Now here's my problem. The mansion was pitch black. Even with the candle, my screen color and brightness were fine, but I couldn't see a fucking thing. I was stumbling around, like I couldn't see any items that I needed to pick up and use. Like I would basically just have to like rub my body on the entire surface area of the room while tapping X to see if something happened. And you're in this mansion that is completely open with no guidance, no go here, do this, and they don't tell you what you have to do before you can sleep. So you're just kind of like wandering around, doing nothing, and wondering what the fuck to do next within 10 minutes of starting the game. And you're just like, this is fucking stupid. Like, so eventually you get kind of hints towards where you should be going. But again, like you get one hint and then it's like, all right, you're fucked for the next half an hour. Wander around and figure out what to do next. The first puzzle of the game that I come across is I find this chest of drawers. I find the way to unlock the chest of drawers, and there's a hidden code that you have to decipher. You have a letter that your father gave you, and you have a letter that you find somewhere else that has like these weird Roman numerals, and they're like, some of them are upside down, some of them are inside out, like, and you're supposed to like put all this shit together and somehow make a 4-digit code. And I'm not the brightest spark, right? No. I'm not the sharpest tool in the tool shed, but I'm not stupid. And I tried.
You're never good when it comes to puzzles. I love you, but you're not good at puzzles.
I know, it's fair. I'll take that feedback. but you know, I'm not stupid, and I tried so many combinations to the point where I'm like, the only way I'm going to play this game anymore is if I have to go online and get it. I'm like, for the first like real puzzle of the game, that's a little intense. Like that's, and I can't tell if it's just because, you know, I'm not smart enough to figure this fucking thing out. But I was adding and subtracting, I was doing everything. I was like, okay, so it's 2, 4, 7, 3. And then like you do that, and I do it like 12 different ways, and I got stuck like right at the beginning. And I was just like, you know what?
Not worth it.
There's nothing about this game so far that's grabbed me to the point where I give a shit about what's in this fucking box. Yeah. I was just like, I gave up, and I felt like an asshole because I only played the game for like an hour and a half. But an hour and a half of that game was me stumbling around a dark mansion, finding random things with no association, no explanation of tutorial, inventory, how to solve anything, no hints, no nothing, and I just got fed up with it like real fast. So much promise, but I got so annoyed that I didn't want to continue. And for me, that's super bad sign, because I'll play most fucking games, regardless of how stupid they are or how bad they are, if like there's some redeeming quality in it. And the redeeming quality was the story, but the story wasn't good enough for me to continue suffering.
Yeah.
So I stopped playing. So I hate that. I hate that that I have to give a negative review to any game. But you know,
it's the way it is.
For once on this podcast,
and
I'm going to be the bad guy. Golf. Yeah, and say
I have very strong feelings on those.
$25? No. For Black Mirror, no, not at all. Maybe if it was 10, 15, like 15 would be okay. Like 15, I'd be like.
Have you seen Star Wars yet?
I haven't.
Good. Let the hate flow through. That's from an old Star Wars movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
No spoilers for Last Jedi.
I've seen that. You can't spoil that for me. But yeah, so for $25, no, I'm sorry. Like it's
Luke's in it.
Not thanks. It's not worth it. Which sucks. So there you go. That's the Black Mirror. I don't know who the developers are, honestly, and I wish them no ill. It's a great concept. I could be an idiot and not understand it. If you've played Black Mirror out there, and it is in fact like it does get really good or something, then please let me know, because I actually
you gave something else a bad review recently. You gave the Stranger Things thing. You're like,
that was stupid though. That wasn't a game at all.
Welcome to my side.
They took it off the fucking store because it's so stupid, I think. But the other game that I played was actually a game that I was given, and I'm not going to give it a better review because just because of that. But it was actually a pretty half decent game. It's called Party Planet, so it is a U game. Right
the Switch game.
Yeah. It's a Switch game, and it's entirely minigame based. There are a bazillion minigames.
I assume it's multiplayer.
It is, yeah, it's 4-player.
So it's a good party game.
It's a great party game. It's not so good in single player, which is how I played it.
I feel like you should come over to our game nights, Tom.
I should.
And bring Switch.
I should. And at very least, I know that, like, if 4 people were playing it, I think it would be a blast. For me, it was enjoyable, but not something I would spend money on if I was only ever going to be the guy to play it, you know? The mini games are cool. There's some really interesting ones in there. All of them are easy. Like, they're all, like, 1-button, 2-button affairs. There's nothing that's complicated.
Was it diverse enough that you didn't feel like
super diverse. Okay, lots of different stuff going on.
That's the issue I have with some games is they'll do these mini games, but it's the same like 8 that get repeated.
No, it's like they're all very, 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 very different from each other, and they're quite well done. Like not all of them are perfect, but like they actually.
I mean, even Mario Party had Honeycomb Havoc, Tom. It's bad.
I mean, it is essentially just taking the mini games of Mario Party and like putting them into like a 4-player co-op game for Switch.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. But like they had like reiterations of classic games in there too. So there's like a really cool version of Snake in there, where you can go like 360 degrees as opposed to it being like just left, right, up, down. And it's actual Snake. They also have like I want to say the game's called Peggle, but I think that's wrong. Whatever the game is where like you have a row of colored balls coming towards you and you shoot a colored ball into it to retract it. That game's in there. So there's a lot of actual full-on like kind of fun, like full-length mini games in there. But then there's also like stupid little like platform stuff, like you have to jump as high as you can before the water gets you and that kind of stuff.
I love those. The button mashers.
Yeah, tons of button mashers, tons of them, and just a really good time. I actually, even playing it by myself, I had a blast with it. I don't know. I mean, I think it would be better on the go because it's definitely bite-sized, so it'd be way better on the go than it was. Like I played it with the big screen and everything, and it didn't really,
I mean, or like I said, I'm hoping to have like a video party game night every month now because this is fucking fun.
Right.
Having it there, I think it'd be a lot of fun, and it just, I feel like I'm getting back to the couch co-op. I have friends now that want to play co-op games with me, which is cool because I miss that because it's part nostalgia and part just, you know what? Let's fucking just hang out and drink and play video games.
Yeah.
Like I miss those days.
And that's
I never used to drink while playing video games.
I mean, the only difficulty, of course, is that you have to have multiple Switches in order to get the most out of it, and Switches are not the easiest thing to come by.
Is it local co-op or is it only online?
I don't know.
Local
It
co-op,
looks
you're fine.
like a local co-op only.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'm not
I'm cool with
positive.
local co-op.
There might be some online. I didn't see anything. And
Well, online would be tough because you have to deal with the server ping.
yeah, and also like Nintendo's the worst at online. But yeah, it definitely is local for sure. It's a case of slide your player over here if you want to play, basically for 4 players. But yeah, really, really fun little game. Thank you to the developers for sharing that with us. I will be reviewing it at some point. I can only review it from a solo perspective, so I was thinking maybe I would have you like take it and play it with people, or have people over here and we'll play it as a multiplayer game and see like if it holds up better under that light than under the other light. But yeah, so Black Mirror, Avoid, and Party Planet. If you have friends, pick it up.
So I'm going to do like a kind of extra spotlight here.
Sure.
Because we both have talked about these games for a while. And I don't know if you consider them indie because Sony's behind them, but PlayLink. Well, That's You was free, so you should have That's You.
Not anymore. It was free.
That's what I'm saying. That's You was free.
It's on sale this week.
Yeah. That's You, Knowledge is Power, Hidden Agenda are the 3 that are out, and then Frantics comes out later. I personally like...
Technically Planet of the Apes as well.
Yeah,
which
but
is weird.
I don't want to play that.
Me neither.
But the one that's the biggest hit with our group of friends is That's You, where basically you choose who somebody is. So I love when the dating section comes up because let's just roast Keegan. It's a lot of fun. It's like, thanks guys. It's like, who's most likely to fall in love on a first date? Keegan.
I remember when we played it for the live stream, and it was like, which animal describes you?
Yeah, I got that one last night too.
And every single person did a sloth
lion.
except for you, who did a lion.
So last night, that same question came up, and everyone chose the sloth, and I was like, I gotta make myself feel good, so I chose the swan.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like that, and then it was a lot of fun. Like, everybody last night, we rotated people in and out throughout the whole night, but everybody last night, like, you have to play this game. It's a lot of fun. The rule we have with it is no drawing dicks on people, because you can draw on the pictures. And
it definitely devolves into a dick fest on the live stream, which I was fine with, but yeah, it
gets old quick.
Yeah. So you can draw on people, so let's be honest. There's a lot of dicks waiting to happen there.
But it's one of those games, like, everybody I've talked to said that's more fun than it deserved to be. And last night, well, because I played this game now, I played it on the live stream. We played it once on the live stream, right? Maybe we played 1 round, or maybe 2.
Yeah, I think we just did 1 because it was like a 7-episode thing, right?
We did 6 rounds.
And we did like Knowledge is Power for more.
So we did 1 here, and I played 3 last night.
Yeah.
Some things repeated, like I said. Some of the questions came up again. But there was 2 new areas that I had not played yet on the last game we played, and Ebony was playing with us, who played with us on the live stream as well, and they were really cool. Like, there was one that was like a carnival section, and I was like, oh, I've not seen this one before, and I can't remember what the other one was that popped up, but I was like, oh, this is new. Classroom. I don't remember. We might have done the Classroom. I couldn't remember. Yeah. But it was just, some of it repeats, which is kind of boring. You can make your own questions in that game and store it locally to your PlayStation 4, which can get really fun. Yeah. So, like Cards Against Humanity style. But that one's probably the biggest hit. And then Knowledge is Power is fun. If you have people who are... So, last night we had at the Aggro Crag, as I call it, the stairs at the end. So basically it's a trivia game. Quickest to answer gets the most points. You have power-ups to fuck with people. But at the end, you climb up this mountain, as you know. And we're all within 4 blocks of each other. And it's whoever answers first or quickest on the last question. So my brain, I'm like, I didn't know the answer to the fucking question. I can't remember what it was. It was some movie question. I was like, I don't know. I got glooped and I got iced. So I had to wipe the gloop and beat the ice. So what I did was I swiped all the way across my phone to clear the gloop and then just started pounding on all the ice. And because at the end, it doesn't matter if you choose wrong. You just got to get the answer right. So I just kept going, and I won because of that. Like, that was my strategy. I didn't know the answer. Also, the question before that, which was amazing for me, how I caught up, was the question was, in 2003, the band The Darkness believed in what?
A thing called love.
Yeah. So what I did when I saw it come up, I got up and I fucking Tiger Woods fist pumped. Nobody knew the answer but me, I don't think.
You sang this song for our Christmas.
Well, yeah, but then when the thing, because I didn't want to sing it until everybody had answered, because I don't want to give away the answer. And then when it's done, people are like, what is it? I go, and they're like, ah, I was like, ha. I got real loud, but it's a lot of fun. And then Hidden Agenda, I wasn't as big of a fan of, just because I had to pay attention I feel like those party games are way harder
with Hidden Agenda, they really went for the Until Dawn vibe. Like, it was very much narrative. There wasn't really a party game so much. I mean, it was to the extent that it's like a bunch of people watching a TV show.
The mouse thing was weird.
Yeah.
That was a bit funky.
That was kind of weird. But it was, I mean, it's essentially like an interactive cop show.
Yeah.
But with the actual hidden agendas going on, like the talkative part comes out, and it's kind of interesting how those played out when we played it. I really enjoyed it. It's long as well, which is good and bad. Like, it was bad at 3 in the morning, but it was, but generally that's a good thing because it's like a $20 game.
And then Frantics is the other one that comes out in 76 days, 75 days when you're listening. 76 is we're recording.
Really excited for that one.
It's like, well, I looked it up to see what it was because I wanted to see, because I was by them. And it looks like a Mario Party kind of minigame.
Oh, sweet.
Thing. So I'm excited to see how that. I don't know because not any footage of it yet anywhere that I've seen. I've tried to look and find some, but based on the clips I've seen, that's what it looks like.
The Playlink games were great. I really
stupid fun.
They were great.
So Sony, make more Playlinks. Go pick up Playlinks. I know those are probably
really
not indie because Sony makes them.
Too. Yeah, really good art style on all of them.
But moving on from our spotlights, let's move into our question.
Sure. And
this question came from a discussion I saw in a gaming group. So you said we had a similar question probably a week or two ago.
I feel like maybe we did. I thought you'd left the same question.
No. The question is, what do you expect from early access games? Yeah. And the reason this question came up is a gaming group I'm in. There was this PUBG. PUBG was the big hot topic in a lot of things. And some people were saying, I'm not playing PUBG on Xbox. It's garbage. I'm going to play it on PC because they haven't figured out all this kind of stuff. Other people were like, hey, this is early access. I knew what I was getting into. I knew that this probably wasn't going to run great initially. They are going to optimize it hopefully down the road. That's their promise to us. So you're paying $30. You're paying probably not. Well, I don't know if they're going to keep it because I know ARC went up to.
I feel like if PUBG was a full release, they could get 60 for it.
Yeah, but so the question I have with this is when you buy into an early access game, whether it's Microsoft, PC. Sony doesn't really do it, but Sony had ARC, even though it wasn't technically early access. It was. When you buy into an early access game, what are your expectations for that game? Do you go in thinking, hey, I know this is early access, it's probably going to change, I'm probably going to have some optimizations, or do you expect it to be a really good experience from the get-go? How long, I guess, and the other thing, follow-up question would be, how long do you give a game if it's not good to get good?
I think there's a weird line, honestly, because I mean here's my kind of thought process on it. Obviously, the game has to be playable, right?
Yes.
So like if it's like if it's beyond broken, like like 10, 15 frame rate, that kind of stuff, that's pretty fucking broken. That's like
I've shown you some of the videos. There's some real.
It's Assassin's Creed Unity bad, but. Yeah, so
they fixed it a week later. Well, they said they fixed it a week later.
Well, that's fine. Like, if you're fixing your problems, that's one thing. But like you said, like what I expect from the get-go is for it to function well enough, like smooth to a point where it's not frustrating. Pop-ups, things like that. That's whatever that happens on like every game. So I don't give a shit about that stuff. But like actual stuff that would hamper your enjoyment of the game. So if everyone's lagging and everyone's just like zoop, 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 and you can't shoot anyone, like that ruins the game, right? So that's like, optimize your network, that kind of stuff. I also think that at least the prices are low. So when you get an early access game that comes out at $25, $30, it's almost like they're saying, hey, we got a pretty cool idea here. It plays kind of fun. Why don't you check it out until we can make it, like, perfect? And that's a pretty okay argument to me. Like, I'm like, you know what? Like, they've come out and said this isn't a full thing. Like, they're going to continuously make it better and add things to it and change it and add maps and that kind of stuff. So I think getting in at early access is almost kind of cool because you
see it as it grows.
You see it as it grows, but also, like, you're getting it at a good price, essentially. Because when the full release eventually drops out, it's probably going to be $50, $60, and I don't know if like people who already have the early access get that upgrade.
Yeah, it's automatic, just 1.0 update.
Right. So that's kind of cool as well. The fact that you do essentially get the full development and get it for cheap.
What do you think though of potentially? It hasn't really happened yet, so this is more hypothetical. But early access does not commit to a full release, technically.
If a game stays forever in early access?
The game either stays forever in early access, or they just stop developing on it.
You paid half price for it, so that's a risk you take. You know what I mean? It's
you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is down to research, too, because there are a lot of early access games, because they are doing so well.
Some are better than others.
Yeah, for sure, some are better than others.
Let's look at Subnautica and how good that game was. When Subnautica first launched, it was it was a really good game. It had some optimization issues. It had some other issues. Still does to a certain extent, like every game does. But Subnautica was one of those games that, as it went along, they added updates to it that people wanted. They added the story at the very end, which is what I think was a smart choice, because it was one of those things like you're learning the mechanics of the world, but you didn't want to ruin the story because you wanted to save the story for the full release.
Right.
So you kind of understood, but then people had to go back and start their games over. That was a whole different issue there. But like Subnautica is a game for me doing it right, or for me is doing it right, because when you first release the game, it's, hey, let me go explore this giant ocean of scary, monstrous creatures and hidden treasures. But then it got to the point where, oh, there's actually a story here. Let me follow the storyline and see what falls into, and maybe it'll tell me about the giant Leviathan that I saw over there and why it's over there. So I think Subnautica is probably one of the best examples of it.
I'm all in on Subnautica. I played it a little bit.
It's not very good on Xbox. Still doesn't run very well.
I haven't played on Xbox. I've only played it on Steam. But it was okay. I mean, it was, and I think you're right. I think that's a good example of it because they've continuously supported it. Stranded Deep, they supported that.
I mean, Astroneer just announced they're going alpha.
Right.
So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and that's been out for God knows how long. So I mean,
about
it's
4 or 5 months.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. I think if you got to do your own research. You can't expect it to be handed to you. Like, you have to know that when you're buying an early access game, that you're buying an early access game. Like, you can't go.
You're buying into the bugs.
I think a lot of the problem. That's true. That's a good way to put it. But I think that a lot of the problem is on the company side of things, is when they market it as not early access.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, not Nintendo, sorry, Microsoft are not. They're not saying
this is early access.
Well,
they'll say it's
they're saying this is PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. You remember that game that everyone loves?
Well, they'll say it's part of Xbox Game Preview, which people may not know what that means.
Right.
That's the other thing.
I mean, it's not that they're being shady about it per se, but there's definitely a No Man's Sky type marketing ploy there, where it's just kind of like they know that it's early access, but they're advertising it as the experience of PUBG as opposed to.
I mean, the fact that you get a PUBG disc with when you buy an Xbox, or you get a PUBG download when you buy an Xbox,
right?
It's a big deal because it's not a full release game.
Right, exactly. I mean, if you're bundling in an early access game with a console, I think that's like the first time that's ever happened, right? Mm-hmm. So that's historic in itself. But that's definitely you treating it like a full game and like a full release. So to an extent, I think for a lot of people's expectations, it can weigh on the research they do and how the parent company sort of gives it to you. Like, how do they present it to you?
I mean, another one that early access that I played the crap out of and I haven't played since it's gone full release is Ark. I played over 300 or 400 hours in that game back in the day. And then it was cool because early access is weird because you always it's like when you're waiting for DLC, you always hit the ceiling and then you have to stop for a while or just do the same shit over and over and then drops and then do something else and you go, oh, that's new. With early access, though, the cool thing is you have usually a bunch of new shit that happens. So like with Ark, we played on the main island. We had, like I've said before, we had our own private server for it. But we played on the main island. We built camps, all this kind of stuff. And then they're like, oh, by the way, that biome that you're in is now a swamp. And like where our house went from being on a cliffside to right in the heart of a swamp. And that was weird. But that was also really cool because you had a whole bunch of new creatures. There were snakes involved, which is not cool. But like, that built upon itself, and then eventually there's dragons added and all these other things that built upon it. And as long as it makes sense to what you're doing, and it feels like, to me, it's basically early access as you're adding in DLC.
The implementation of it is important, though. Like you said, like with Stranded Deep, like when they went and they did a bunch of updates to it, they essentially ruined a lot of the graphical fidelity of the game, and they had to fix it because it was.
Well, the other thing I think Stranded Deep did too, at least from my experience, is somebody who played it when it came out and played it like 2 or 3 weeks ago now. It's a completely different game, which, again, bought into early access. I knew that could happen.
Yeah.
But it just felt like the fundamental, other than you're surviving, the crafting system changed, the movement, what I'm trying to say, like
transportation.
Going from island to island felt different. Like, there's now rigs out in the water. The excitement for us was finding a fucking whale.
Right.
Now there's like oil rigs.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's cool because they're adding to it, but I think the biggest thing for me was like you said, the graphical change. Subnautica had one too, slightly, but it wasn't as drastic. But the crafting menu change was the thing that really fucked me up because that's what the game is built upon.
Yeah.
So you had this crafting menu that I learned how to use, and then all of a sudden it's like, it switched, and I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing anymore, and I don't want to start my game over and take the time to do what I just did because that wastes, at that point, probably 30 hours of that I put into that game. So you got to be careful, too, with early access of doing stuff like that. But they've also added a bunch of stuff that wasn't there before. the island's now fuller. There's actual land creatures that aren't sharks. I don't know if you've seen that glitch where the land shark happens.
Sand shark.
So it's a catch-22 with early access on and instances like that. But I think, and I'm the mentality kind of like you are, of like, you know what you're getting into. You understand that you're, like I said, you're buying into bugs. You're basically, I don't want to say you're testing the game, because somebody somewhere should have tested the game before it came out, but you are testing
new there to make it better.
New features.
You're there as a beta tester in a sense, because you're basically like, because the community is where these changes come from. They don't, the developers obviously have their own ideas of kind of what they want to tweak and stuff, but for the most part, the reason why they're putting it out in the wild to begin with is because they want you to say, oh, you know what would be cool?
They want,
if you did this.
They want Keegan to go jump up a mountain and see if it would glitch him through the world.
Yeah, right.
Like that. And also on that front is like, when you're testing it, give the feedback to the developers. Like, they have the data that comes in of like crashes and all this kind of stuff, but like, go to their forums, be a part of that in early access. And I think a lot of people don't do that. Now that I'm part of level 2, and when I do any sort of early access or any sort of game like that, I do give the feedback.
Well, we had that with Rec Room recently as well, with Sean from Anti-Gravity. It was like, hey, where's the, like, because we streamed it, and he was like, where's the part where you get stuck in the staircase? And I'm like, it wasn't my perspective, so he's not going to help you. But, you know, that's the stuff they're looking for. They genuinely are
they want to solve
it.
They don't want those to be there. Yeah. So, I don't know, I'm the same mentality of you. It's like, it's usually a cheaper game. It's usually, I know I'm getting a buggy game, but it has to function. Like, it has to, at its core, function technically. I don't mind pop-in. I don't mind slowdowns every so often. Like you said, I
think there's a lot going on. It's acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, like, even
explosions.
Let's be honest. You know? Fallout 4 had slowdowns, and it's a AAA game.
Yeah.
So it happens, and we all understand that. But if that's your core experience of just 10 to 15 frames a second when you first land,
like you said with PUBG, it was like when it was an open area and there wasn't really anything going on, and then it was dropping.
It's come out, and I don't think they've officially said this, but it's come out from Reddit, and Reddit's kind of good, sometimes kind of bad. I don't know, I take this with a grain of salt. But they've come out and said basically the settings on the Xbox One, Xbox One S, and Xbox One X are equivalent to the very low settings on the PC.
Interesting.
Which, again, optimization.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of that's going to come from. And it is different hardware, so they've got to learn how to use the Xbox. They've got to learn this stuff, and that's why I'm kind of like, okay, it's early access. As long as they get it fixed, and in my brain, there's a time frame. Like, they came out and said they started fixing it. Cool, if that actually did something, that's awesome. But if it's still bad, I give like a month to like 3 months to get it figured out technically. Because if you can't get it figured out technically, you're just going to add on something that's broken. Like The Division, to me, again, I played the shit out of that game, but it was technically broken a lot of the time. And it frustrated the hell out of me.
They did come through eventually and
sometimes
fix it.
They did just do a big update. I haven't hopped in yet. I can't wait.
1.8, I think.
Yep. So, yeah. What do you guys think? What do you think of early access? When you go into an early access game, do you have kind of like, hey, I'm buying in early access, it's cheaper, I know there's going to be bugs, or how do you want your early access games to go?
Have you played PUBG on the Xbox, and if so, what was your experience like?
I can't wait to play that. Can't wait to play that.
Yeah.
But this has been Indie Please Add Details, episode
we're back, baby.
17. It's our weekly dip into the world of indie games and indie developers, where we discuss the news, and we have a topic of discussion. I forgot the excursions. We also do excursions as well. It's how we excursion.
I like that word, excursions.
Excursions. I've been using Visceral a lot, and like I've been trying to expand my vocabulary.
Good on you.
Okay, story time. We'll get back to Indie in a second, but I can tell the story. Speaking of vocabulary.
Story time before we go.
Yeah. You know Words with Friends.
Yeah.
So I was playing Jessica with Words with Friends, and there's I played the word segue, like going from one thing to another. Segue, which is S-U-G-U-E. And she, you know how you can comment in there, and she's like, that's a smart word. Like, how do you know these words? I was like, I don't know, I just do. And the next word I played was whore, just to be like, see, I'm not so smart. But it got me a lot of points because it was right on the triple word. So, yeah, I pretend to be smart.
Whores are better than segues.
Segues.
We learned today.
Not like the segues, I'm going to segue into the thing. But anyways, this has been Indie Please Add Details, your weekly dip into the indie world and indie news. We have a topic discussion. We do things. We spotlight games. You can follow us on your favorite podcast services. That would be Google, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, anything else. Or you can see our lovely faces at level2gamers.com. We release every Wednesday. We record Tuesdays. Release every Wednesday.
Wednesday for this show.
Yeah, Wednesday. at 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Or if you have the audio, I believe that goes up sooner. It goes up usually at night.
I usually, like, I edit the audio first and get that up as soon as I edit it, because I feel like the audio guys...
It'll be just waiting for the feed.
It's fun for them to get a heads up.
So, you can just continue the discussion. You can continue the discussions, because I did well so earlier. Off air. But online. I love 2Gamers STL on Twitter or Discord, link in the description. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We will be back next week. We got probably Game of the Year. Will be our next
game of the indie game of the year, VR game of the year, regular game of the year.
This one will be indie game of the year.
No, I mean for the whole week. Yes. It's going to be a good week.
I need to take my jacket off. I'm sweating. So thank you guys so much for watching.